Hey there, welcome to a new episode of Killer POV. This is episode 18, I think.
That sounds good.
18, all right. I'm your co-host, Rob G. from FEARnet and Icons of Fright. And right to my left is Elric Kane from Inside Horror.
Hey, Rob, thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, thanks for coming on, man.
I feel good to be
I
part
really
of this.
appreciate it.
I had to race home in traffic, and it was totally worth it. I was excited.
You're always a special guest.
Yes. And Inside Horror, we're actually going to do another one. This month, it's going to happen. We're just waiting. I can't say who the guest is, but if it gets confirmed, it'll be someone you'll be very excited. And Becca will probably be doesn't know this either, but she'll probably get a call from me saying, hey, you want your old rollback?
Okay. Oh, well, look at that.
She just doesn't know because I only found out on the way here.
I was going to say, were they going to tell me?
Yeah, you'll find
cool.
out. You won't be cut out. We're just waiting to. It's somebody who will be quite cool. Because I only wanted to keep doing it if it was going to be new people we hadn't spoken. You know.
Can we have the makeup girl back? Because seriously,
She's
that
great.
was like my best perk.
Yeah, looking good on camera.
I never do my own makeup, and I would leave the show, and people would be like, "Oh my God, Becky, you look so good," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm wearing makeup. It's cool, isn't it?"
Yeah.
It's the only time I ever put anything on. So
whereas for the podcast,
nice.
this podcast, she comes mom styles, right?
Yeah, this is totally
mom styles.
I'm
She's wearing makeup though.
Oh yeah,
I can't help it.
I'm wearing a headband today. This is about as momified as you get. Check this shit out.
Oh, I thought that was part of the headphones.
Oh no. This is
nicely done.
I'm wearing a headband.
As usual, Elric has completely derailed my introduction of Rebekah.
Sorry. Hi.
I like that. I actually think that should be an ongoing thing.
I'm going to introduce her first.
Derailer.
Yeah. And the guest has already jumped in without anyone knowing who that voice is. I like that too.
It's a secret voice. There's also Rebekah McKendry from Fangoria. Hi.
Hello. How's it going, guys?
Awesome. And our very special guest, we have Scott Reynolds. He's the writer-producer of Dexter.
Hello.
And he's also the host of the Dexter Wrap-Up podcast, which I also work on with him.
We have a good time on that.
Have you ever met anyone who's more impressed by that than the fact that you're the writer-producer of Dexter? Because that'd just be wrong.
Oh, by the podcast.
Like, oh my God, you're on the podcast for Dexter?
I get some funny tweets about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was once called the genius behind the Dexter podcast. Right?
The wind beneath our wings, we said.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, I
Nice.
like that.
None
You're
of
a
it's
Bette Midler
true,
song.
The dick beneath the dress.
That's pretty good.
That's much better.
Okay.
I think I'm going to refer to you forever as the dick.
You're just the dick.
Yeah.
Works.
I was just saying.
That's very no, but that's a good reference to Psycho. Actually, the dick beyond the dress.
Right.
That's very Perkins.
thank you.
Nicely
It
done.
works.
I like
Yeah,
it.
I'm sure that was exactly what you were
That's
thinking.
what I was saying.
Yeah, that's what
That was what I was saying.
That was a Psycho reference.
And
Oh,
it goes with the
geez.
theme of our show, which is...
What is the theme?
Well, we
You came up with it,
only
right?
kind of lightly outlined it. So we'll say,
Yeah,
but we were
usually
like,
we discussed this ahead of time. This week it was kind of like Elric threw something out, and we were all like, okay.
I
all
wanted
right.
fictional cinematic killers rather than not the portrayals of Ted Bundy, because Dexter is a fictional. I thought it'd be fun to just discuss any that to come to mind. We don't have to go too deep.
Okay. But I mean,
I threw it out on me like a day ago. So.
Oh, but are we excluding, like Michael Myers and characters?
He's
Yeah,
fictional?
He's fictional,
fictional.
but like...
You think he's real?
He's iconic.
No, I mean, those are like on the, that's the like unstoppable.
I feel like we hardly have to
Killer
even mention
evil.
those guys. If at
Pure
this point
evil.
our show, anyone listening to our show already knows
Knows who
Michael
they
Myers.
are.
I think we
that's
could go
weird.
into other.
I was researching it today because I wanted to come up with like a really good list of, who I think the best fictional killers are. And so I'm looking over the internet of like where people have made like top 20 best killers. And somebody was like House. And underneath who the killer is, they wrote The House.
Oh,
and
wow.
like Jaws, the shark. And I was like, man, this is a broad topic.
Yeah, that is a broad topic. I wasn't thinking that way. Just FYI.
What were you thinking?
I'll tell you when I get to that, because I'm not going to skip our first section,
All right,
which it would be great to get Scott in on, because I'd love to know what have we been watching in the last
Yes.
week. For you, it could be longer than last week, but
You mean just like movies, whatever?
Or
last
so
night
much
I
on.
watched, and this is odd. I have like two big gaping holes in I love horror movies, but I realized last night I'd never seen The Howling.
oh well,
Yeah.
yeah, cool,
Because it just came out on Shout Factory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Scream Factory stuff.
Yeah,
from
Scream
them.
Factory.
great cover. I like the cover they've chosen.
We love you,
Cool.
Jeff Nelson.
Yeah, no, it was great. All this time I thought that was, I thought Wolfen was the
Right.
Howling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it was an entirely different.
Yeah, it's
entirely different
no
movie.
Albert Finney, and the opening is really
yeah.
genuinely intense. Like with the newscast and all that.
I have no idea what's going on at all.
Yeah,
like
it's super adult.
Yes,
That's the other thing people forget. Like, and then it becomes Joe Dante-ish towards the end. But yeah, it's a super interesting film. How did it look? Did this look like a great?
Gorgeous.
Awesome. Yeah.
we watched
great.
it outside near a fire. It was good.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
That's my
It's
one
very
movie this week because
mood-fitting.
I watched it with Scott yesterday
Okay,
as well.
nice.
So that
Did
was
you have
fun.
any new
I
thoughts
stole your
on
fire.
it?
Sorry.
No.
What,
No,
did
it's
you have
all right.
new thoughts about it as a film?
You know what? It's funny because every couple of years, you remember certain things about classic movies like The Howling, but not anything new. But it's just like the work that Rob Bottin did in it is really impressive. And it's really great. I still feel like American Werewolf in London has the slight edge on it.
Because of the realism, I think. Of
yeah. But I appreciate
even the transformation, though. It's in the bright, harsh light.
Yeah.
Everything is
perfect.
Yeah, where this one is kind of like dark and like, you got the bladders and stuff going. But no, I mean, because it looked, the digital transfer is amazing. Because it looked so good, I think I appreciated Rob Bottin's work more than I
did. It have the last time I saw it, I actually am a real big fan of that film, but it had like one really bad effect shot in the middle, like a bad background shot. Well,
there's one there's animation, right?
Yeah, that might have been what I was thinking. But I remember it really took me out. Like I was like, oh god,
true.
Is it still the same? It's the same. I always wish with these transfers they'd go back and just, what's the point of CGI? Yeah, but well, I don't want to add Jabba the Hutt, but like, if something's broke, we could fix that.
And there's also, I never caught it before. There's one like claymation shot kind of towards the end too. There's there's animation.
It's cool though on the road when they're coming after the car.
But for some reason that works. Like you see claymation, you're like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Aren't there all directors' names on all the graves at the end?
I think so. I mean, we picked up a lot of cameos that I didn't pick up previous. Like Mick Garris was one of the guys that was watching TV towards the end.
Oh wow!
I've never noticed.
Yeah, I've never noticed that. That's cool.
There's a lot of them.
Roger Corman on the phone.
Oh yeah. At the beginning. But yeah,
and then
really
every prop has the word wolf on it in somewhere.
That's cool.
They're even reading like Allen Ginsberg's Howl.
Subtle, very subtle.
I've got a signed photo of Dick Miller in the bookstore. Right? When I met Dick Miller, I've got that photo signed for a friend of mine, which I really love because it's great. I love Robert Picardo in that. He scares me in that, and he's not usually he's usually a comic actor, and he's.
This is actually the first time I realized that was him. I don't know why I never put it together.
Because we kind of know him as the bald guy from Star Trek or whatever it was he was on. But he is a good actor. He's again, a Joe Dante staple. But again, the thing that makes that movie so good, and a lot of these B movies from that period, especially like Corman stuff, is sales. Like I'm convinced that if we had more writers like that in the genre, the genre would just take another leap to the adult, which is what I love. I loved it when horror was like I was a kid, but the horror films were adult. It was about adult stuff that felt taboo. Now it's like where adults are making kid purposefully.
We're making teen flicks
teen
again.
flicks, and it's a real bummer.
1950s where everything is catered towards the 16 to 20-year-old market.
Right, and even dumbed down for them, in my opinion, because they're a lot smarter than the people think they are. Their comprehension, especially of storytelling, maybe of other critical thinking, maybe not, but story, we understand that at like 12 or 10. It's I don't know, but John Sayles' work in like Alligator. Battle Beyond the Stars, those films, they're so much smarter than what they should be.
He's in that movie too.
Yeah, he has a fun cameo.
That's right.
He's the coroner, and it's like there's like a brain and like his burger right next to each other.
Oh, that's great.
He's eating lunch while he's doing an autopsy or whatever.
Yeah, classic autopsy scene.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. That's all I saw this week was The Howling, and I watched a lot of Dexter. I started this shit since this is the final season about to start. I went right back to the very beginning and have started kind of revisiting the whole series again, which has been awesome because it's been a few years since I've seen any of them. Same for you, probably, right?
Yeah,
Scott.
Were you there from
the live in it?
I mean, this will. I'm not trying to jump into the interview, but when did you come on board?
I came on halfway through the first season. As a writing assistant.
So you've been there for the whole time.
Yeah,
that's incredible. Mine won't take long. I've really been watching TV this week. I don't know if I guess I knew Scott was coming on the show, but either way, I had been wanting to go through Dexter season 7. That's right.
That's the last one.
I'll have to be careful tonight though because I haven't seen the last couple.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
So
I can tell you what happened.
Yeah, be spoilers free. But I will say I really think it was such a comeback for a show. Like I just really was engaged, and I found the whole letting his guard down and being emotional with a character. There's always been a slightly cartoon element because Dexter's playing human in his mind.
Yeah,
the cartoony part.
4 basic faces.
Yeah, and the cartoony part, I think, for me, after a few seasons, I was kind of like, especially with this family. Before she was, or spoilers if you're watching, Trinity Killer, whatever. Before that,
a couple seasons back, they should have caught up.
Well, there's just a point where I was kind of like, oh yeah, that's good, but I was watching it, but not fully engaged, and and I was this totally got me back. Invested. It just felt like a really human story side to him, which I really liked. And I won't tell people where it goes at the end, but it feels like in the way that I like Breaking Bad, I feel like Dexter's now in that moment, which is where the end is coming, but you don't know what that is. But because there's an end in sight, it makes everything feel more important and more like there's just something.
To tell you, from our end, Creighton's story, it helps a lot to have an end goal that you're going toward, rather than just sort of spinning spinning a big bad. How's Dexter kill the big bad?
Right, and that's my problem with, we were talking about The Following this year, and the hard thing about watching that was like you watch an episode and you go, yeah, but it doesn't matter who dies, who gets murdered, who
when
kills
they kill
who.
like 6 people an episode, I don't really care anymore.
Yeah, and you're like,
just
where's it
assume.
going?
You guys are so jaded.
It's like Downton Abbey. Everyone's going to die of typhus, so just it doesn't really matter.
Kevin Bacon gets typhus in Downtown Abbey. Oh, geez.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, I'm on. But besides Dexter, which I finished like last night, I really, really dig this show. It was a complete random, like I don't usually watch the Netflix suggestion shows, but it was an Irish crime drama from this year called The Fall with Gillian Anderson.
Which is awesome.
Oh,
Yeah, Gillian Anderson. Have you seen it as well?
I've seen parts of it. I had to review it for
really?
Fango.
Okay.
And so I ended up,
Which parts did you review?
All the nude scenes.
Just the torso. No, they sent me a screener copy, so I didn't get to watch like the full season, but I got to watch like the first 2
it's a
episodes
TV
enough
show.
to do
It's
like an
a
update.
5 episode, British TV where you get these weird amounts. It's 5 episodes. I haven't watched the 5th yet because I just had to do Dexter first. But it's in that similar vein. I mean, no, it's more. It would be closest to not Hannibal either. It's a bit more gritty. It's like a crime drama. Gillian Anderson comes on as a Captain Polden. Actually, The Killing is the closest easily. It's very close to The Killing, but it's really like the lead character. The character. It's about a serial killer who's like this really nice, seemingly nice family man for real though, like with little kids, but probably has
Not like Trinity
at all. But it's played totally realistically, and he's a counselor. And this is up front, like in the first frame, you know who the killer is. But he's doing, he's knocking off these women in a very fetishistic way. And then Gillian Anderson's come in. It's kind of like The Wire mixed with The Killing, but about one crime for 5 episodes. I haven't concluded yet, but it's for free, and it's like 20
on Netflix.
Yeah, and it's a 2013 show, so it was really one of those fun discoveries where I'm like, it's exactly the kind of show I like.
I've already been hearing rumors of an American remake of it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
None of them are validated. We haven't been able to post anything on the site.
That's the way
yet,
things
but
are now.
Yeah.
You can't pitch anything original.
No way.
Right, because The Killing was a Danish show, and most shows are, and Dexter wasn't.
Nope.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. So those are the things, and then that I've been watching. And the only thing, this is kind of newsy, but I'm not going to let you put in the news section because I was so excited. One of the only movies
I'm putting it in the news section.
Yeah, you're putting it in the news section. You always do this. I always steal things, and I might have stolen it. The only movie I've been trying to see for like 10 years and have not succeeded in seeing The Visitor. Got announced today.
my news section, Elric.
No, but I've been wanting to see this movie for so long.
Is that Italian one?
Yeah, well, the weird one that has like Peckinpah in a cameo, and I've never seen this movie. And
That's
I own it on VHS, and every single time Elric comes over,
I go,
he goes,
I gotta watch
"Oh,
that."
you have The Visitor. Can I borrow that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then he's like, "I don't have a VCR."
I used to have a VCR. No,
and
it's
then that's
partly
the end of the scenario. But this has happened like 6 times,
Well,
and they announced.
I wanna
it's
see
being-
a good
I'm
print.
saying it. They announced it's being released to Blu-ray by Alamo Drafthouse.
Right, and it might,
Cut
but it also
is insane.
It might go to theaters, right? Like for an one or two, might do it too. For me, I'm very excited about this.
I see that.
Yeah, I'll see you there. But no, I am. Whenever I see him, but the weird thing about Draft House, I swear this happened twice this year, and same with Scream Factory. There'll be a movie I'm thinking I need to see this movie, and twice Draft House have released that movie.
Wake and Fright.
Wake and Fright's the other one. Yeah, I've been
It's
like, I need to see
amazing.
this.
And then they also did see. I made a list. Oh, Miami Connection was the other one that I was like, yeah,
I still haven't seen that.
Go guys!
I
They
saw
released
that
it.
I saw it at the Cine Family it was a midnight show. Phil put it on, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was with the director, and he brought all of his students.
Now I'm frightened.
Yeah, he brought all of his students. There's this little tiny, I think Korean guy or Taiwanese guy or something. And so he brought all of his kung fu students. So they put on, it was at midnight, they put on a kung fu show for us. It's probably not kung fu, some sort of martial arts thing. So it's a packed house. We're on our feet screaming at these, and they're like 8-year-old kids and, 40-year-old fat guys.
Oh my gosh.
Swinging their arms.
I would have
amazing.
asked him to sing that Friends Forever song from the movie.
Yeah,
it's pretty bitchin'.
Yeah,
he said something to us. We had no idea what it was.
He's like Isn't he like somebody's telling me he's kind of like a self-help
He's a
guru
self-help
now?
guru, yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Well, I think
no
that
idea what he's
shines
saying.
through the movie because the movie is about a karate team that fights crime during the day, but they're all best friends and they play in a rock band at night. And all of their songs are about how good of friends they are.
But they're not even fighting crime during the day. They're fighting other bands because they're pissed that they took over the club.
It's like The
it's not
Outsiders
really,
or something.
it's much more mundane.
Okay,
so.
cool.
And an older brother dating his sister.
Yeah.
And I believe it's also on Netflix Instant now. Like I think they just added it.
Oh, cool.
It's
I've
an
been wanting to see
absolute
that
must
film.
see.
Yeah, I've been waiting to see that one.
And we may have copies of it to give away at Trivia Night tomorrow night.
Oh, reason to show up.
Yeah.
I was going to just miss it. It's like at my place.
Well, I have a story about Jump Cut that happened a mere like half an hour ago. So I'll get to that when I get to my films for the week.
Do people hang out there all day long and write, or is it that sort of a place?
It's
lot
meant
of
to be.
people
That was
do.
like, that was why I set it up. I wanted it to be that kind of place. That was the dream. Even though it makes you less money that way.
If I go on hiatus, I'll go hang out there.
Yeah.
So, well, this week I saw a couple things. I watched Poltergeist 2 and 3.
Yes.
Brave woman.
That's my other big hole. I have never seen Poltergeist.
Are you serious?
Whoa.
I've never seen.
We got to
I
get
know.
on that right away.
See, I've never
same.
seen Phantasm, and they like called me on that, and they were like, "How have you never seen Phantasm?" But I feel like now it's been so built up that I'm going to watch it. I'm going to be like, "Man, that's not that good."
Oh no, you're gonna love it.
Okay, I have.
If
to
you
see
saw it
at
on
some
a
point.
35 mil, you would be blown away. Like if we could get a good print and show it, you'd be.
I mean, like I
floored.
know the basic concept. I know the ball and the tall man and all that stuff. I've just never seen it.
The
So
little people from another dimension.
Yeah.
I watched Poltergeist 2 and 3 because
Did you see the mullet?
I did. So yeah, Craig shows up at the, very
mullet in number
beginning with
2?
like this great mullet on. Number 2, I did not like, but I thought it had better effects than the first one because it was a lot gorier because it
Yeah.
had like the monsters in it and the weird worm that turned into a person that he threw up and yeah. So a lot of it was animatronic or not animatronic, claymation.
Right.
Yeah.
But I still thought that it had some cool effects.
But it's
to
pretty
it.
clunky as a movie.
Oh my god,
It's
the
not
plot.
a good. Yeah, it's not a good movie.
I had
3 still?
no
yeah.
idea.
No, three's
So
fun.
then we watched 3, and I have to say, the effects in 3 I really liked because,
Yeah,
like,
it's all mirror
there was,
effects and
yeah, mirrors and fog and water effects, and it was just such cool stuff. And it was pretty ingenious during parts of it. Ryan Turek is like gritting
I
his
know, he
teeth right
hates- he
now
hates
as
that we
I
like
say
it.
this. But yeah, I was.
And have you ever
pleasantly
seen a bad
surprised.
movie with Tom Skerritt? Be honest. Be honest. Any, even one. Throw one out. Throw one. I'll defend it. He's been like 55, 60 years old for like 45 years, right? Like picket fences.
I think
to
I
now.
have one.
Oh, really?
Devil's Reign.
Oh, that's that one. Does that have Shatner in it too?
Yeah, Shatner and
Okay.
Skerritt.
That's a great
Yeah.
film. Ernest Borgnine. Ernest Borgnine.
Borgnine is the Satanist.
Ernest Borgnine and their faces melt.
Yeah, it's the
That-
Satanist film.
I didn't remember Tom Skerritt in there though. Amazingly,
I think he's in it. I'm pretty sure. I could be
possible.
wrong.
It's the Shat for
I
sure.
own it on VHS, so I have to go check.
He might be really, really young in it. I think you might be right.
And
I
you
think
just won't
Travolta.
recognize
And
it.
I think
Travolta's
Travolta's in it for like one of
Yeah.
his first role, very brief. Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the faces that melt.
Yeah, that's good.
So then the worst movie that I've seen in a really long time that I watched this week was this one called
Six Souls?
Six Souls. You're reading my sheet.
I'm just messing with you.
All right, keep stealing my shtick.
I'm kidding.
So Six Souls. Look it
Oh,
up. It stars
yeah.
Julianne Moore and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers.
Oh, weird.
And it was a Weinstein film. And so I had got copies of it to give away at Trivia Night tomorrow night. And so I was like, hey, this is Julianne Moore. It's a Weinstein film. Why have I not heard of this? I watched the trailer online, and the trailer looks genius. I mean, it looks like a great, great film. So I put it in, and oh my God, that was a heaping pile of poo. It was just terrible.
Are they going to want their screeners back?
I
Now that
have
you've said
no
that?
idea.
By the time this airs, they're already being given out.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
good. Ah,
It was,
suck it.
well, I looked online. I should pay attention beforehand, but I never read what other critics write. But then I look on Rotten Tomatoes and it has like 1 tomato.
Oh.
It's like terrible.
Brutal.
And so, yeah, it was just
So when you
awful.
hand that out tomorrow, when somebody wins it, you're going to be like, and
give it to the
next
loser.
up is the giant pile of poo, Six Souls.
Julianne Moore. And
What's so bad about it? Is it just the plot?
The plot. Well, it's about a psychologist, which is Julianne Moore, who investigates people with multiple personalities. And she always says schizophrenia doesn't exist. There's no such thing as multiple personalities. And she always diagnoses it as something else. And she's very Christian, and her husband's dead, and her daughter's kind of bitter with the church right now. And she meets this guy who seems to have multiple personalities. And after a while, she realizes that he's from this like mountainous region where they practice like mountain magic, and somehow he eats souls.
Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan, you're all bad people in Saskatchewan.
Exactly. And then it gets into this whole religious battle, and it just gets really preachy at the end, but the plot doesn't make any sense. It's like, gosh,
Is it
what
new?
was
Is it?
Yeah, I think it just came out.
just
yeah.
came out.
What's
so-
the last line of the movie? Do you remember?
I don't. I do. It was a man humming. So yeah,
Sold.
right there.
It's musical.
So that's what I watched this week. And
All
then
right.
the 2 other things that I did this week that were horror-ish. Well, I didn't do this, but did either of you guys? I don't think you did because you were with me at Mike Mendez's. But did anybody go to the Great American Horror Camp Out?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good.
Rob G said he would never go to something
I
like
would
that.
never go to something like that.
Yeah, see, I was freaked out too by it, and then I started getting reports, and most people said that it wasn't that good. So
It was really scary.
Oh, I mean, I won't go camping or anything.
You won't go camping.
It
You
doesn't
just
even
don't
have to be-
camp.
It doesn't have to be a camp out. No, I've seen enough horror movies to know better. I'm not going camping.
You know what would be really interesting?
I don't like the elements. I want to be in my bed. My
apparently,
warm bed,
this wasn't
indoors.
actually in a camp. It was in a dirt field right next to downtown LA. Like everybody showed up and they were like, "There's no trees here." This
Yeah,
isn't
there were no
exactly
trees at
camping.
all.
Was it at that?
I'm going to keep this going to the end of the show.
It was right next to the stadium.
Chinatown?
Yeah, in Chinatown,
Yeah,
right next to
yeah.
the stadium. And
that'd
so
be-
that's where they went camping. And everybody
You
said
actually could get killed there.
and everybody was like, yeah, that they had all this cool stuff going on, but everybody was running around in dirt for like a 12-hour stretch and was just filthy and disgusting, and that made it kind of icky. But I heard some cool things about it. Like they set up this video game thing, like a live video game where you get like a scavenger hunt and you have to go to these different areas to find like a key or a map or these different things. And these monsters will appear and you get riddles and you figure out how to defeat the monster with the riddle. So apparently that part of it was really cool. So, but
How much does this privilege cost?
it cost over, I think it was like $150 a person. And as my husband
It's
said,
overnight.
yeah, and you had to sign
the
a
dirt.
waiver, pretty much saying if they break your leg, it's your fault. And you had to sign a waiver saying that you were insured medically. And apparently they came and like actually drug people out of their tents at like 4 a.m. So my husband
Drugged?
was like
Dragged?
Like Dexter at
dragged.
Mommy brain.
Me speak English. But yeah, apparently some people were like, we paid $150 to be dragged out of our tents.
That's hot.
I would love to meet
I love
one of
it.
these people.
Talk to
Ask them
Justin
what they-
Beam. He went.
Oh, he
I
went?
heard all about it last night. So.
What I want to know now, if anyone has this at their fingertips, is how many people per year in the history have been murdered while camping. Like because there's so many movies that do that storyline. I'm very curious if many people at all have been murdered while camping.
Probably not that many.
Well,
Yeah.
I do have to say, like,
They get lost mostly.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm curious.
I'm from the East Coast in the middle of Appalachia. Like, if you've seen Deliverance, my house is not far from where that was actually filmed. We don't have people that disappear when camping, but what we do have is like at least 2 hikers disappear a year.
They get lost.
Yeah, there's always like, well, a lot of them do like just disappear.
Is
So,
is sodomy still an issue there?
No, we let that die out in the 70s.
Okay, good. Because I'm really into
The inbreeding is still rampant.
Oh, good. I'm gonna keep that good things alive.
Banjoing.
And I'm going to actually, Elric knows.
And speaking of sodomy,
I own
good transition for any conversation.
What I will
Do tell.
wrap what happened this week with was a story at Jump Cut that did not contain sodomy.
Or me, I bet.
Yeah, because you weren't
'Cause I'm
there
never
this
there.
week.
Never there, man.
This week, I
Yeah,
just got a
this
job.
week. So I just had dinner at Jump Cut like less than an hour ago.
Oh.
And Jesse's working.
Okay.
And so, and they've got some weird storytelling night going on right now.
yeah.
So Dave and I show up and we're like, we'll sit outside because they were like telling stories and it was a little weird. So we're sitting outside with like 5 other people who showed up and we're like, man, they're telling stories. Let's eat outside.
hilarious.
So there's this whole pack of us sitting out there eating dinner. And all of a sudden this thing flies overhead. And it was just a white orb is the best way I can describe it. A big white orb. And it's going really fast. And every single one of us just went, what the hell was that? Did you see
Like
that?
how high?
It was in the
Like
sky.
right over your head or way over the
It was like flying over Burbank, but it was going really fast. It wasn't a plane. It was a perfect circle. And all of us sitting outside and like the people coming out of the Pilates place next door, everyone just turned and was like, what the hell is that? So
Yeah, that was
I
me.
have no idea.
That was my flying device.
What I
Beginning
saw.
of the invasion. This could be your last podcast
Really?
I
ever.
know.
That's so cool that it started at Jump Cut.
Yeah, well,
the end of the
I
universe.
assume more people in the valley saw it as well, but yeah.
How big?
I can't tell. It was like, if you picture like Portos and Burbank, it would have been about that area. And it was definitely flying high up in the sky, but it was going way too fast to be landing at the Burbank airport. Because immediately, as soon as we saw it, everybody started trying to get cell phones out and it was gone before we could get them out. But that was,
Crazy.
and everybody was freaking out. It was the weirdest thing. And
It's
I
not
don't,
the hallucinogenics we put in the spicy mayo.
that could be it. I was eating the spicy mayo
Yeah,
when it happened,
that'll
but
do it.
I
Handful.
assume the girls at the Pilates place were not. So,
That's probably true. They
Yeah,
were eating
but
nothing.
Like, I've never had a weird alien experience before, so this is my first one. But I was seriously like, "What the hell was that thing in
And
the
no
sky?"
one got a picture?
No one. Everyone was like fumbling for cell phones, and it just zipped past. So
You know, not for nothing, but I've heard more stories about this sort of thing since I moved out to LA than ever before. Like, it seems like this sort of something happens here pretty frequently. And I don't know if, somebody's just testing
Yeah, it's like the Transformers
Movie
ride
making
at
equipment.
Universal has gone haywire for a bit and fired something.
You never know. You never know what it is. It's not to say I don't believe you. I know you saw something.
We
but
saw
who knows?
something. But see, I don't even believe in aliens because I assume that if aliens had the power to actually, the amount of energy it would take to travel to another planet, why the hell would they come here? We're rather boring.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't really do anything.
I've told you on the show what I think what these are. I've always, and I genuinely believe this, if they're true UFO, I've always said that I think that they are us coming back in time, and that's why they don't ever reveal themselves.
They're like, oh,
you
remember
that?
That sucked.
And they're just taking sports betting, and they're coming back to watch LeBron or something.
We're just eating salads outside a cafe in Studio
They're like, oh my God, it's
Let's
jump
just go back.
That's the infamous jump cut before it all happened. Dun, dun, dun. But no, I mean, that's interesting. That
was my weird moment. And Jesse was not out there, but there was a couple of your other regulars were out there with us. I have to figure out their names. So, yeah.
I like that you called our storytelling event weird.
No, I didn't even stick around.
So bad you have to go outside.
No, I didn't even stick around. I was in there and I was like ordering my sandwich, and Jesse was like, there's about to be a storytelling event. And Dave was like, they're telling stories, but let's eat outside. And I was like,
you
okay.
Can't talk. It would have been rude if you started talking.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Until it's awkward.
Which brings us to that's everyone's what we watch.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
that's what we watched.
We did it.
And what I have. Yeah.
All right, that's a wrap. We'll see you next week. After that alien thing, we can't top it. Sorry, Scott. You came a long way.
We're levitating.
So we were we were talking about killers.
Yeah, this is when we move on to our favorite fictionalized killers. I made a list.
You made a list. Scott, do you have a favorite?
Well, it's not a favorite, but it's like one of the more interesting ones. There's Alec Guinness. It's a movie it's a Criterion movie called Kind Hearts and Coronets.
Oh, yeah. Alexander McKendry, right? The same guy made the one where Alec Guinness plays all the roles that the Coen brothers remade. You know, the film, The Lady Killers.
Oh, Lady Killers. Yeah. I don't know if it's the same director, but
okay, yeah, I think.
But he plays a lot of different roles in it.
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
And it's about this sort of wealthy guy that's killing off all the people that are trying to take away his money, basically. And it's crazy, funny, and bizarre, and
I remember it being really good.
Kind Hearts and Coronets. It's got a very quirky sense of humor, sort of like a Dextery sense of humor behind it. But
and so does Lady Killers, like that whole period.
Killers for sure, yeah.
That whole period,
and that sort of dry British wit about it, and surprisingly brutal at times.
Right, and he's just a great. It's like in A Frenzy had that weird quality too, like by Hitchcock. It's like the killer. It's pretty brutal, but then the scenes with the couple are hilarious, and they're like these very domestic, funny. It's a very
Frenzy. You got that when he throws the body into the truck, and then he realizes he's got to get the ring back. And
Frenzy's a really underrated movie, and again about a killer. You know, it's a real process-driven killer, which is unusual. That was not Hitchcock's last film, almost his last film, but yeah. That's cool. And yeah, I should rewatch that. Kind Hearts and Coronets. Good. Is it McKendry? Does it say?
No, I looked at my pick for the week.
Oh, we only get one?
No, you
can pick as much as you want, but I wanted to get my names
what are
right.
some, I mean, before you move on, what are some, as far as you know, even before Dexter was a book, do you know any of the killers that maybe influenced that? From what you've heard from the inside room?
Yeah, no. Jeff Lindsay, he never really said.
Oh, he never really did?
He never really told us anything about where it came from.
What about the performance? Does he ever base? Did he
Michael?
ever? Yeah, did he base things on?
No,
everyone's tight-lipped.
I honestly believe it just comes from him.
Oh yeah,
he doesn't really research other roles, you know. But
I mean, you can't really compare Michael to anybody else, like any other killer previously. Like nobody's played it the way he does. I mean, I've always
unless
said,
there's a vigilante, like in real life, unless there was a vigilante type of killer out there, which is totally possible. I mean, who knows? You know, knocking off bad guys. I don't know.
Yeah, but I've always related Michael's performance to, and I know this sounds cliche coming from me, but like the only other sympathetic killer in that vein is Norman Bates. It's like this young, good-looking guy that you want to like.
You only know two things.
I do.
Because otherwise you have like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, and that's not sympathetic at all. With that guy.
He's charming, but you realize very quickly that he's kind of messed.
Yeah, stay away.
Yeah.
Don't get a car with that.
Don't mess with the Rooker. I think the Rooker's scarier than Henry.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
No, he totally is.
Yeah, what about you?
Well, the one movie I wanted to point out was actually it's from 1989 called Relentless.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Bill Lustig movie.
Bill Lustig.
Post-Maniac, post-Maniac Cop.
Post-Breakfast Club.
Yeah, post-Breakfast
Club. For Judd
fans. Judd Nelson's character, which was Arthur Buck Taylor. I thought he was a really cool killer. He was Yeah, it's
one of the best trailers of the 80s. Like, I remember that trailer was really electric.
Yeah, Judd Nelson is like the serial killer, and he I can't remember the specifics. Yeah, the telephone book.
Just opens up, points to a name.
Points randomly, and then goes and kills that person.
Like strangling.
Wow.
And I mean, it's got a great supporting cast. Robert Loggia's in it. He's one of like the detectives.
Does he scream a lot?
Never
fucking tailgate. Can't go wrong.
No, he's his typical Loggia self. And then Leo Rossi's the other detective. He's like that good Italian character actor. He's in Halloween 2. And what's funny is he ended up becoming producer and making 3 more Relentless movies. So it's interesting because it became kind of a series more about like a cop chasing killers, whereas the first movie was specifically about, the killer that Judd Nelson played. But I like it. I mean, it's the most disturbing element of it is, and this is something that just Bill Lustig does, even in the original Maniac. The kills are really long and drawn out to a very uncomfortable degree. And Judd Nelson's character, what he always does is when he kills somebody, he always like makes them do it. Like he'll strangle a woman, but like he'll grab her hands and like hold it in his hands and be like, it's really creepy. And he's like, they're there. You're almost done now. Like he does really creepy.
That's twisted.
Yeah, it's a pretty twisted little movie. I think it's actually on. I don't know if it's available anymore on DVD like it was. It might be out of print. But you might be able to see it on YouTube.
Yeah, watch the trailer because I remember the trailer was one of those ones that it didn't even matter if the film was any good. You wanted to see that. That movie was just, it just looked original. It looked really intense, the pace of it. I remember that well.
Yeah, and even though it's Bill Lustig, I would even put it more in the like, the crime thriller kind of category as opposed to straight horror. I think what makes it horror is the way the kills are filmed, it's really awkward and uncomfortable. But yeah. That's not a favorite, but...
What was the Hitchcock, I forget the name of it, like Hitchcock's favorite movie. It was about Charlie.
The Trouble with...
not Trouble with Harry.
The one with...
He's the...
uncle.
Yeah, Uncle Charlie.
Uncle Charlie comes home, and I was just talking to someone about it.
Because he's sort of a likable serial killer, too.
Oh, yeah. He would be my favorite killer of all time, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah.
He's the charming widow killer.
Yeah.
How do we not? That's ridiculous. We can't even. Joseph Cotton is who we're talking about.
It's driving me crazy that I can't remember.
Okay, before the end of the show, we'll come back.
We have a magic device that can tell us the answers to this,
I'm
guys.
trying to pull it up, but I got nothing. I got the spinning wheel of Apple.
Oh boy,
I'll handle
It'll come. It's because I think the title's so unrelated to the actual film. It's one of those ones that you always think it's the Trouble.
The
with
Merry
Harry.
Widow Killer was what he was.
Yeah, exactly.
And they played that same song each time, but he's just so likable and he's
such a good actor.
Girl.
He's just so good. Like you instantly like him. My the one I usually mention this one when I think about killer. I think my favorite is The Hitcher. I love Eric Red's writing, and I think Rutger. I just saw the first episode of True Blood last night and the new season, and the one thing about I'm kind of a little over the series in general. Just has lost me a couple seasons ago, but. When a car pulls up and a hitchhiker has his thumb out, which is Sookie's brother, and the guy who's driving the car is Rutger Hauer. You're kind of like, I'm going to watch it. Rutger Hauer. He picks him up. He's going to be the main villain of this season. And but the thing is, back then like what he is now. They often become kind of cartoonish versions of themselves. But when you look at this role in Blade Runner and his stuff that he made with Verhoeven before he moved to America. He was, in my opinion, maybe one of the best screen actors to ever live. And I'll stand by that. I think Blade Runner is one of the greatest. His performance is one of the greatest you'll ever see emotively. Mm-hmm. And I think the same with The Hitcher because it's the complete invert. It's just he's just playing the thing that you can never access. You can never know. It's just he's a shade of a person, and it's incredible. And it's
scared me.
Yeah, the writing's so good. See Thomas Howell's acting. You go back to it's a little patchy, but Rutger's incredible in that film. And I also really like, even though The Killer's no good, but I like the film, the other Eric Red film, which he actually directed, Body Parts, is like my. If somebody asked me my ultimate guilty pleasure film, I always choose that one because I just watched it a lot as a kid. And I know it's not great, but there's something about it that I found really hypnotic and weird. And
with Jeff Fahey, right?
Jeff Fahey, and another great trailer. Like, a serial killer wants his arm back. He pulls up next to you at a red light, puts handcuffs on you, and the two cars go off the edge, and it cuts to the title. It's like, you have to watch that movie.
Yeah, it's out of control.
But Eric Red, I think, in terms of that dark material, I think he's probably one of the best writers of that stuff. I mean, he hasn't written in that vein for a while, but...
And is the movie you were thinking of Shadow of a Doubt?
Yeah, Shadow of a Doubt. Of course.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
And
Thank
the
you.
winner.
Yeah, exactly. Great film. Great. Yeah, if you haven't seen Shadow of a Doubt, that should be top of this list for sure.
There was one I was doing like a little while at the beginning of the season. I was hashtagging like Serial Killer Film Club.
Oh, yeah,
like movies that we had researched while on Dexter. There was one that came out that was called the Snowtown Murders.
Oh yeah, I just saw
that's
that,
Australian.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's really good.
Brutal, tough watch.
Very brutal, but it's very Dexter-like,
Mm-hmm.
and that he's taken out the scum.
Oh yeah.
But he wants friends, and like Dexter, he wants to be connected to everybody.
Except
So
totally
he
real.
wants them to join in, though. Yeah,
and without the humor, like because it's so humorless and straight, it's a hard
funny.
watch. Yeah,
It's
a good film. It's a hard. I think I just saw the actor who plays the main guy pop up in a big American show.
Good.
And I was like, oh wow, there's that guy who was chilling.
I was trying to get him on Dexter. He was so stinking good.
Yeah.
I was watching that he was charismatic
Yeah.
beyond belief. You
Yeah,
sort of
it's
got
probably
why they followed him, why they did what they did.
It seems to be one of the most realistic films I've seen in a long time about a crime. It seems to be like
it's a true crime. I'm sorry,
True,
but that's the bad. It's not didn't follow the rules. Sorry.
But and actually on that another Australian film when we were talking about true how many people really get killed at thing. Wolf Creek was genuinely about a backpacker killer.
Mm-hmm.
They changed the plot, but there was the only Australian serial killer was somebody killing backpackers. So and at tent sites and stuff. So it must happen.
You guys have only had one.
Well, New Zealand's never had a serial killer yet
That you know of.
Yeah, even to be honest, because of the number of murders, like usually if there's a murder, it's like news for about a year.
But you got some really shifty sheep.
We have, but we have had spree killers. There's been people who've taken out a bunch of people with a gun. Australia actually has had multiple serial killers now, but that's
they're criminals. So.
Yeah, exactly. They come from poor
criminals.
stock. What are you gonna say? They're mad, you bastard. And so your killer.
I've got a couple. I put John Bartlett from Frighteners is one of my faves.
Yeah, that's really fun.
I always liked him. John Doe from Seven. I always found him to be a really fascinating killer. Peeping Tom. I don't even remember the character's name, but I was fascinated by him. And one that I don't know if a lot of people have seen, but Anamorph. It's got Willem Dafoe in it.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of it.
And it's really cool. The killer in it, he kills, but he turns the bodies into artwork. And there's clues to who he is within the artwork. And Willem Dafoe is a detective, but he's also an antiques collector. So they,
of course.
And what's even weirder is Mick Foley, Mankind from WWE, is the antiques dealer in it.
Nice.
But
you understand him?
Yeah. He's definitely slows down a bit. And Clea Duvall is in it. But yeah, it's just out of most of the movies I can think of, that's got really cool kills in it, just because it really utilizes like textbook art theory and puts it in a serial killer.
Yeah,
so
that is pretty interesting.
It's a really neat concept.
Now, is this Dark Skies good? Because Dick Gruner, one of our avid listeners, saw me at Jump Cut yesterday and he goes, I've got a bone to pick with Becca. Dark Skies is the worst film I've ever seen.
Dick didn't like Dark Skies?
I haven't seen it, so I'm still...
Dick, what's going on,
This is one of her recent...
There was some
TV
creepy stuff in there.
This is one of our listeners. No, there's a Dark Skies... Is it called Dark Skies?
It's Dark Skies.
the movie.
It's the Alien movie.
Hey, I liked it too.
It's
Sorry,
a Blumhouse movie. And
I'm not going to go there now. Him telling me that's pushed me out. I can't do it.
Oh, Dick, I can't believe you didn't like that, man. It's creepy. Come on. Try Anamorph. It's gruesome. It's really gruesome. So
Well, I guess a good spin-off question is, why do you think we find, and I am like, I've seen almost every killer crime movie. I'm almost obsessed by those kind of films. Why do you think we are so interested in that aberration personality? And even with Dexter, like, what do you think it is about these guys that is so enticing to know more about?
With Dexter, I think it's a little bit of wish fulfillment for sure. Other than a lot of serial killer movies don't do the same thing that Dexter does.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
I mean, killing bad people. Mostly, it's just pure terror, and they're one of us. It's like a zombie movie, sort of, right?
Yeah.
That they're walking among us. You have no idea who they are. It could be your neighbor. I think that's why we're fascinated with it.
Isn't that hard to believe that these are real people? I struggle with that. Like, to think that there really is a person out there.
I grew up in Chicago. We had John Wayne Gacy.
Oh, yeah.
And that terrified us.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the boogeyman when we were a kid, especially knowing what he would do to you if you were a little boy.
There's a bar in Lakeview, and I was in there once, and it was like a cool hipster bar now, and then the bartender started talking, this is the bar where Gacy went to pick up boys, and I was just like, oh, and that turned, you get the place like literally changed before my eyes, the perception of wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, but it is. It's like the monster among us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why people are creeped out and love watching it all the time. And with Dexter's a little different, though. It's like, I don't know, you sort of, I mean, you definitely side with him. You definitely feel for him. You understand that he's an unreliable narrator who's telling you that he's an alien in our world that doesn't understand anything, and yet we see him trying to connect with people, and we know that's sort of his flaw, that he wants to connect. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But definitely people enjoy watching people get what they deserve.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing about Dexter, I think, as the unreliable narrator, is that I'm most interested in, like, I can never know, and I'm sure you wouldn't even tell us, but it's James,
James
Remar.
Yeah, like,
Harry.
you know, is that an accurate portrayal of what Harry would be saying, or is or that's Dexter's version of Harry?
It's Dexter's version. That's why he sort of changes and morphs depending on what his conscience sort of needs.
Well, remember early on he's like, "Get him, Dexter," and then nowadays he's like, "You have to." And I find that
be safe.
I think that's one of the most interesting things. It's almost like a multiple personality disorder, but it's almost like Mother or something like that. But I find it really, this last season I particularly liked it because it felt like he was still trying to be a father to him, rather than just somebody putting him on a path.
Very
interesting.
Dexter's changing because he's connecting with someone for the first time ever, which is something he thought he could never do.
It is really interesting.
New territory.
But I remember speaking about these, like why they're maybe fascinating. I remember seeing Dahmer right after his court, and then on trial, and when he had to kind of the deposition where he had to say what, he's kind of talking about these things, and he's talking about like the guy he loved, and he ate him and put parts in the fridge, and the way he spoke about it was just so normal. Yeah, I remember thinking it seemed normal the way he was talking about these, and that was the part that really draws you in, and you're like, oh, this is really hard to imagine that a human's out there and right now while we're in this room and doing something like that, or getting pleasure from doing something like that.
That strange smell could be.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Something's cooking in that pot. Yeah. There's a really great graphic novel, My Best Friend Dahmer, I think it's called. It's about this. It's a true story about this kid who his best friend in high school was Dahmer.
Wow.
It's brilliant.
Oh yeah,
it's great.
I'd love to read that.
Yeah.
Who wrote that one?
Bad with names. Oh. It came out like last year.
Oh, okay.
Amazon wrote it.
Yeah. Amazon, boom. 2 days later.
Amazon writes everything.
Well, it's weird. It's like people's fascination with it. I remember I was talking to my friend Bill Schaefer. He runs Hyena Gallery, and he's got some serial killer artwork there. Mm-hmm. So we always have conversations about this stuff and like why it's appealing to look at
Is
something.
This artwork drawn by serial killers or pictures of serial killers?
Both. Like he does have a Gacy piece that Gacy drew in jail that's there and stuff like that. And that's, I don't know, there's something weird about looking at it and being like, wow, like a crazy person that did terrible things drew this thing that I'm staring at. And I think that's part of the fascination is most normal people, which thankfully most of us are, have a moral and a conscience and a point we turn off. Like, yeah, we get angry at certain things in society and at people at all, but we would never and our thoughts might shift towards messed up stuff, but we would never do that stuff. But then we read about people that go even further beyond that and do even worse stuff that we couldn't possibly imagine. And it's like, I think we have a fascination to try to understand that, And I mean, a clear sign, and Scott can speak about this a little bit, but it's like, the landscape in television has changed so much over the course of the last 8 years. So when Dexter started,
people
there
thought
was
it was crazy.
Nothing like it. And now every show has got a serial killer,
or a monster, or something dark.
Straight towards it has really shifted towards television. I mean, horror is, where it seems to have a big home in television right now. Whereas 7 years ago, it was Dexter. I remember at the time we were doing Fango Radio and we had Dexter guest on like every other week. Mm-hmm. David Zayas was like on my speed dial just because we worked. He gave me one of those "Bull Till You Bleed" shirts. I still have it. I loved it.
That's where you got that damn trivia question.
Yes. I have a bowling shirt. It's blue and it says Dexter on the front, and on the back it says "Bull Till You Bleed." So David Zayas gave it to us. And he gave one to each of the staff members at Fango Radio because, that's where horror was 7 years ago. So we had him on like every week because it was so cutting edge to have a horror TV show then. So.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if Showtime I'm sure some people considered horror and a lot of people
didn't consider it horror.
Yeah.
When we were making it at all. No.
But what was it like kind of in the beginning? Like, can you talk a little bit about the landscape of television? Because, I mean, you came on, you had seen or read the pilot when...
I'd seen the pilot. I was working on a show called The E-Ring.
Right.
And I was watching it I was watching the pilot. A bunch of us writers were all sitting around watching. Lauren Gus is one of the ones.
Who's a writer now on Dexter as well.
And first of all, it took us about 10 minutes to realize, oh my God, that's Michael C. Hall. Because at that point we were watching him on 6 Feet Under. He's just so much more powerful and scary, than David Fisher.
Yeah, but when you saw the potential for that was the episode where he got abducted. There's an episode in 6 Feet Under where he gets abducted in the back of the van. And that
Scott Buck wrote that, who's the showrunner
everything in that leads to me directly to what he was able to do in Dexter. You just see so much in that.
If you watch the show, you'll notice that Scott Buck always puts him in a van.
Yeah.
Whenever it's his episode, for some weird reason, he ends up in a van.
That's funny.
And it started there on 6 Feet Under. But yeah, so I mean, like, what were some of the other shows going on at the time? Because again, I remember hearing about the show. I didn't see when the first season aired, but I caught it on DVD.
We didn't think it would last. We were all going, well, let's make this novel. You know, we took the novel,
right?
You know, Darkly Dreaming Dexter.
Yeah.
Darkly, I forget what it's called.
Darkly Dreaming Dexter.
Yeah, that's the first one. Yeah.
And we just sort of used that as a template. I mean, we changed a lot of things. We didn't kill LaGuerta. You know, we didn't do the stuff to Dokes that happened later on. But so we were just thinking, let's make this book into a TV show, and maybe some people will watch it. Most likely they won't. No one's gonna be ready for this. No one's gonna like a serial killer. I mean, even like David Simon thought it was pretty awful for the guy from The Wire that we would make a show like this. Oh. I love David Simon, by the way.
And they kill everybody in The Wire.
It's different.
It's like
it is very different.
You shouldn't fall in love with a character. It's like Downton Abbey, where they're just going to die the next season. Yeah. So yeah, but it is. It's
sort of glorified
different.
it. I mean, I even felt a little guilty is not the right word, but I wondered about the morality of what I was doing, because when Dexter has someone on a table, you're sort of like, get him, kill him. You know, we've sort of created a storyline in which you want this horrible person to die. You're with him, you know, and then there was all those stories, right, in the news about how people were there were copycats, and I mean they were copycats, whatever.
Yeah,
but that's always tough. Like I remember reading about Kubrick and Clockwork Orange, and how he pulled it. Yeah, he pulled it, and he kind of did take some responsibility. I mean, personally, he just didn't like hearing the stories, and it really shut him down a bit. I heard, so it's interesting.
Yeah. I remember, I think the big deal for the first season of Dexter, and it's been interesting revisiting it now this last week since I haven't seen it in so long, but I think what established it right away was the tone, because it's got, that kind of, it has that like crime procedural kind of format, but also it's got a tremendous amount of humor. Like I almost forgot how funny the first season is.
Because the whole world you saw it through his eyes. Everything was strange. The normal mundane things that we don't even notice.
Right,
were bizarre to death.
Just little things.
Well, and that's the genius of the opening credits, because I feel like that's and that's still the best opening credits. I feel
it opened it up for everybody
probably
else.
Any
it
show,
really did.
Yeah. But that shows you how he's seeing all these things are laced. The mundane every day is laced with something dangerous.
Yeah. But I think the thing that really elevated it, from what I remember, is when the writer's strike happened, and then they showed the first season on CBS.
Yeah, they couldn't get any advertisers either.
I don't remember that.
I didn't know that.
That was a big deal. It was a big deal because the writer's strike was happening. They couldn't get any new shows on TV, and they did edited versions of the first season of Dexter.
And oddly,
CBS.
It wasn't the edits. Was just Doak saying "mother lover."
Because you think about it, like the gore and violence isn't much different than what was on regular TV for those like cop shows.
And now you watch Hannibal last week or a couple weeks ago, and you're looking at some of the gore, going, "Wow, they can get away with that on TV."
Growing the mushrooms in the bodies.
It's pretty hard to believe.
The trachea violin thing.
Oh yeah, that's kind of wild.
Because usually I'll be like, I'd rather see the show on AMC so they can really push it, and then I watch Hannibal and go, I don't know what else you would do. Like how would you push this
further? Could you push it? Yeah.
It's a strange.
Yeah. So I feel like, is that when you notice like kind of, when did kind of the popularity start? Because I think like when it was on
after
CBS. Now everybody had seen it, because
there was
just on cable.
There's a lot of word of mouth. There's a lot of people that just wouldn't watch it because they were thinking it's horror. I don't want to watch a serial killer show. I don't want to watch a movie about that or a TV show about that. But they watch it on CBS, and suddenly they realize it's funny, and it's not. He's sort of breaking good. He's becoming more human. As opposed to the journey that Walter White is on.
Yeah.
And so it helped tons. One of the good things about the strike, I guess.
Yeah.
How do you? Sorry.
I was living in New York at the time, and this was just, I want to say during the writer's strike or just after, but they did this art show, and Dexter was involved in New York, and they designed a room to look like Dexter. I don't even know if you were involved in it.
I remember that.
But we got to go through it, and what it was is they had taken an all-white dining room and living room and then made it as if it was like Dexter inspired.
I saw
and
that.
so
I totally
everything
remember
was
that.
blood soaked and blood splattered. And it was right when it was getting really popular, and it was right during the writer's strike as well. And I remember that Dave and I had just started working for Fangoria at that time. We really wanted to go see it. And we couldn't, like, it was packed. And we ended up getting in on the last day, but I had to, like, wave my Fangoria flag to get them to let me in the door. It was so packed. So, yeah. And so I remember it was really getting popular then.
Quick side note about your Fangoria thing. Growing up as a kid, I was like a giant Fangoria fan.
Aw.
Like, loved it. That was whereas all my friends were going to the magazine stands to like sneak looks at Playboy and Penthouse and Hustler or whatever. I was the one that was like making sure my parents were looking through a Fangoria.
I was doing the same thing, except whereas
funny.
all my friends were reading Teen and 17 and Tiger Beat, I was reading Fango.
Fangoria.
So
Yeah.
that's why I never learned to do makeup.
At least not the right kind of makeup, maybe. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, it's funny how Fango and like horror films were much more interesting to me than pornography. Like being a young person, I think our generation, that was part of it. It was almost like you're growing up. It felt like a much safer version of that. And then now the internet, I can only imagine what a kid now.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, it's a totally different
It
world. Whereas
terrifies
back
me.
then, it was enough to see a topless person but that was like, oh,
This
what?
movie has boobs in
Yes.
it. Now, like, you can see.
Now it's like, don't look up fist. Don't look up fist.
Oh, you looked up fist squirt, you silly man. Don't do it. But no, it's true. It's a totally different. There's something really, even though it's pushing boundaries, there's also kind of an innocence that goes with a young person growing up with horror films and the way that did teach you things that, I mean, I'm sure there's a flip side to this is horrible and misogynistic, or whatever, but I don't know. To me, it felt completely natural. God bless the
I think my
80s.
mom found my stash of Fangoria once. She was like, "What is this satanic stuff?" And she threw it all away.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah.
Yep, Satan. It always goes right
And
to
look
that.
what
There's a
happened.
Satan.
Look what you turned it
There's a
into.
Satan.
You turned it into something. That's a good thing. I'm curious about one thing about Dexter is so you're on season 8 now, and it's the last season. How do you keep it interesting for all that time? And it's obviously had ups and downs, and it's like a couple. I really genuinely, even if you weren't here, think that Trinity storyline was one of the high points for me in television because I was just so like it was really like too perfect.
was very
It was like Heat. Remember
Yeah,
Heat?
yeah.
It felt as good as that. When the two people are coming, you're like, oh, I don't even know which side I'm on.
Dexter Morgan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Lithgow can be really bad when he's in cheesy. Like sometimes they just give him these cheesy roles in movies.
Raising Cane.
Oh, I liked Raising
Hey,
Cane.
I
No,
like
he's
Raising
great.
Cane.
Are you serious?
He's great.
I like
But
it.
he's
I like
such
it
a
too.
good.
Oh my gosh.
He's such a good actor.
Yeah.
That when he's given the right thing, and I think that was the best thing he's had in years.
No, he was amazing and the nicest man on the planet.
Is there a conscious thing in the writing room where you guys are like, oh, I don't know about this story isn't going to be as strong and we need to turn it around, or how do we turn it around, or how do we, I'm just curious over the course of such a long period.
Yeah, it's different than most TV shows in that we spend 2 months beforehand breaking the whole season, and so that sort of locks us in place because both our producers, Sarah Colleton and John Goldwyn and all the people at Showtime have a map that we have to follow all the way through. So there are times when we're like, uh-oh, and we try to steer the course a little bit, but we've never really completely changed, for better or for worse. We've never really changed everything. We've never changed course thinking,
Does the end of one season though sometimes change? Let's say one was, I don't honestly know the history of which seasons have been least popular or most popular, but has that ever factored into where to take the next season? Like, oh, we're going in this direction and we don't like that, we need to turn for the next.
Oh yeah. I mean, there was a point where we wanted Deb to find out about Dexter a lot earlier. I mean, we were talking about that like in season 5. I mean, there's even a moment where, I don't know if you saw season 5 at the end when with the Barrel Girls when they got the guy on the table. What's his name? Sherlock.
Yeah.
Johnny Miller.
Johnny Lee Miller.
Yeah, Johnny Lee Miller. So they have him on. She have him on the table.
Jordan Chase.
And Deb comes down there, and Lumen and Dexter on one side, and there's that plastic wall. There was a point where it was going to happen there, and ultimately it was decided by people of us to sort of push it off to another season. But it definitely helped once other people knew. It's hard to keep that secret life of Dexter without sort of. What happens is people start to hate the other characters. I mean, it happened with Rita, beloved Rita. You start looking at her and thinking, what a fool. How does she not see what's going on? Why does she let Dexter go out every night till 4 a.m?
Yeah.
What is she thinking?
And with 4, I feel like she was like an obstacle. It's like, why
Yeah.
won't she leave him alone so he can go out and do this thing?
Which was a
Just let
very
him
sort
do
of
his
purposeful
thing.
decision.
It's like, I hate her.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you hate him? It's his wife. She's doing the right thing.
It's like her and Dokes, both of them, right? Like
Yeah.
in any other movie, they're the good guys.
Yeah.
You find out,
which
oh
is
my
a
God,
valid
I'm married.
point. Yeah. Well, it's funny because now that I'm rewatching 2, you pointed out an interesting thing is that the big bad of season 2 is Dexter.
Yeah.
Whereas in all the other seasons, it's actually like another character. but he is the big bad guy. They're chasing the Bay Harbor Butcher, which is him. And it's just fascinating to see him constantly kind of change, either the evidence or steer people in a different direction. But I think that was really unique for back then. And it was a big argument then too, because you sort of blow your whole wad at that point, right? When the second episode, everybody finds Dexter's bodies. Yeah.
Right.
The
second season.
Yeah.
First episode. Where do you go from there?
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. A lot of times we write ourselves into boxes and go into corners and go, ugh, what are we going to do now? Which is the funnest way to write, I think.
But sometimes it just opens it up, right? Because I imagine like the fun thing about starting season 7, for example, is just that one moment that ends season 6 where Deb finds out. I just felt like
we felt rejuvenated.
Yeah, because it opened you up to so many different directions, and I didn't expect a lot of the arcs there. It's in particularly Deb trying to I never thought the point that she made, like, well, how does Harry know that this is what you would have done? What if I just watch you, and kind of like stop you from being a killer? Like there was a lot of interesting storytelling. So I guess, from season to season, I guess, is there one pivotal thing that you try to look for to open it up to something else, or does that all kind of come organically? We
don't look for it in the moment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't think we've ever, other than the end of season 4, when we knew exactly, that when Rita dies, everything's going to change.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we sort of discover it. A lot of times, the big pivotal moments happen on stage when we see what Michael has done with it, or we see, I don't know.
Were any of the characters, especially the villain characters throughout the years, were any of them written with the actor in mind, or were they all written and cast?
Written. Actually, we never wrote any of it before. We always just sort of pitched like with Trinity. They pitched the story arc to him, and he's the only one that knew.
Who, Lithgow?
Lithgow, yeah. But we didn't, when we thought of it, we didn't think of Lithgow. With Johnny Lee Miller, we didn't have that. In our heads, we think, wouldn't it be great to get, John Travolta? Well, that's never going to happen.
Right.
Maybe
it should. It's the smartest thing he could do, right? It's like do a season of Dexter. Too late now.
Yeah. Who's been one of your favorite people because I know you're a huge movie fan. If anyone is lucky enough to see pictures of Scott's office, he owns like every Mondo poster you can think of.
Oh, wow, cool.
Oh, wow.
Pretty extensive. And I'm sure and we always have conversations where I tried to get him or I tried to get that person. But you've had everybody from whether it's Peter Weller pop up in season 5 or even bit parts. I loved seeing Adrienne Barbeau in one episode. Angela Bettis came up. So in terms of casting, who are some of the ones that you're most excited to get on?
What was funny is when we got John Lithgow, we were sort of like, oh, we're getting John Lithgow, because at this point we just seen Commander Cody, the Third Rock from the Sun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was our most recent thing. We're forgetting that this was, speaking of fictional killers, one of the scariest killers of all time when he was in Blowout. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Great ending. Yeah,
poking the Liberty Bell into their chest just because
with fireworks going off behind.
Yeah. What was I saying?
It's actually the scariest thing he ever did is being the preacher in Footloose. Because he actually was kind of scary, kind of intimidating.
He was very intense.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where we were all like, oh, it's the guy from Commander Cody. This could be, this could be okay. And then when we saw him, we were like, oh, I forgot. This is the greatest actor ever.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a season that was the most fun though? Like a season that was just a blast to work on?
Again, it was season 4.
Okay.
Like you said, season 4 was just a joy from beginning to end.
I also really loved Victor from LA Law. I still call him that. That's how old I am. I call him Victor from LA Law. What's his name? And he's in Sons of Anarchy this last season. Jimmy Smits.
I
think Jimmy Smits crushed it. And I think he's a guy who I had totally forgotten about. I just was like, oh yeah, Jimmy Smits, okay. And then I saw him and then recently in Sons of Anarchy, he was the best thing in that too. I was like, what?
I met him on the set of Sons of Anarchy, and it was really exciting.
But I love that he was trying to become friends with Dexter. I really liked that storyline. I thought that was another storyline where whenever it's about connection, it has something.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, we try to make it every season. 6 was about spiritual, is there something else out there? The sort of spiritual awakening thing that did what it did, each season is just about, we go, what does Dexter need to learn this season? And what's the bad guy we can create from it? Which is like sort of the Buffy the Vampire, the TV show. Mm-hmm. That's how they work everything. What can Buffy learn this week from a bad guy, from a big bad? So that's how every season worked out,
And how early did you know the end game? Obviously, I'm about to start the last season. I don't want to know anything because I'm not. I hate spoilers.
Anything, don't worry.
But I'm like, how early it was.
We all had our ideas, but all our ideas were sort of along the same line. Mm-hmm. So we didn't,
like how early they're like season.
We were talking about it like season 4 because you never know with TV. You never know when it's going to end.
Right.
You keep thinking, all right, this is the last time. It's got to be it, right? People are going to be bored with this, but it just kept growing and growing and growing.
Mm-hmm. Are you and the other writers, for the most part, harmonious in terms of
yes.
where you want things to go? Or, I mean, I'm sure there's some arguments and disagreements.
Yeah, I mean, there's some big, crazy arguments that go on in the room.
Mm-hmm. But for the most part, you guys are all on the same page.
We never pull a knife.
All right.
Yeah. And without spoilers, there's obviously some good stuff in the last season, right? Will it be surprising to fans or does it take?
There's some big surprises. There's some fun stuff with Charlotte Rampling.
Oh wow! She's in this season. Amazing.
Yeah.
She's a great actress.
That people will be very surprised.
She's
by.
creepy. Like Night Porter, her eyes. It's like dead eyes. I mean, great actress, but there's something creepy behind it.
Yeah,
like
she's fantastic. She's really, really good. Yeah, there'll be. It's all about connection. It's all about connection.
Okay.
It's all about how can Dexter finally have that thing that he has been wanted his whole life without even knowing about it. Yeah.
And I guess, can you hint with
Nope.
No, not the end. The actress I asked you about at the start. Will I ever see her again? Because she's just amazing. What's her name?
Yvonne Strahovski.
Oh my God, she's so good in the last.
They announced that
They've announced
she's
that
back.
she's back.
Okay, so I'm excited about that. I love.
Yeah, don't look at Entertainment Weekly because they give away everything. It is the biggest spoilers I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
We are getting our one because there's some things behind the scenes that are happening today, so we have to wrap ish in a sec. But I'm thinking, because I didn't know you were such a horror fan before this, I'm thinking we get Scott on for another one where it's just about horror.
Scott should join us. Yeah. Maybe after Dexter is completed, so we can get like the wrap.
Just talk about horror movies.
Exactly our favorite. Well, we'll just pull a topic out of the hat. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
We haven't done alien films yet, which was what I was thinking when I saw the thing this afternoon. I was like,
Communion, Christopher
we
Walken.
haven't covered aliens.
Yeah, that's a Whitley Strieber. That's a real performance.
Might happen to you tonight, by the way.
I know. They're coming back for me.
So we have to do our quick news wrap, right?
Yep.
Yes. What do you got, Rebecca?
We do have some news this week. So, as Elric already said, The Visitor will be coming out on Blu-ray. So we'll just cross that one off right there. Jerk. Black Waters of Echo Pond is finally getting a DVD release. Have you guys never heard of it?
Of course. It's like 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years. It was written by Sean Clark, who you should know because he comes to your cafe all the time.
Never heard of him.
Oh, okay. It stars Danielle Harris.
Oh, yeah. I like her.
You know her.
Sean Clark? Who is this guy?
I'll point him out to you tomorrow night. But so this was actually made like 5-6 years ago. And it was announced today it's getting released from Anchor Bay. So.
Danielle Harris, Robert Patrick, Jamie Duvall.
Yeah. Robert Patrick's only in every movie.
I've never seen it, but everybody said it was good.
Okay.
So,
that's what everybody said?
Everybody.
How can it be good if it took 5 years?
Everybody. Yeah. So, no, right. I just know that they did a screening in New York, and the people that I know that went to the screening were like, yeah, it was pretty good. And I didn't go to that screening, so I have no idea.
I want to meet these people.
So
what's happening Friday?
I'm getting there. So just today it was announced Hemlock Grove has been renewed for a second season.
Chick Egley running it. Chick Egley's amazing. He's great. He worked with us on Dexter. Yeah.
And he's writing this one?
He was the
Did he write the first
showrunner? No, he came on for the second season.
Okay.
Because I've never seen anyone who survived the first episode without falling asleep. And that's not even a joke. I swear. I've had 5 people, I'm not kidding, 5 people say to me, oh yeah, I got halfway through the first one, I fell asleep. And I'm like, I've heard that 5 times.
I made it to the second, but the second one bored me to tears. But yeah, I was curious how it did get renewed. I guess enough people watched it, but I assume it had some pretty severe fall off because most people quit after the first one.
I guess.
But, maybe if they're getting some revamps.
Chick Egley's great.
And you're getting some new people onto
Walking
it.
Dead too.
Oh, see, now we're getting some good people in there. So maybe
revamp it.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
It was for me, it was just another teen drama where they're werewolves. I was kind of bored by it. But so revamp it. I think it's got some potential there. World War Z is coming up. So
tomorrow night.
Seeing it tomorrow night. I know that there was a screening earlier this week. Did either of you guys go?
I haven't had a chance to see it other than that press event a few weeks ago, which I thought looked pretty good. But so far it's getting all right reviews. You know,
I'm in.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see it. Yeah.
So hopefully we'll have some reviews for you by next week or the week after. So
just the CGI.
Yeah, that's what irks
It just keeps me at arm's length. I'd look at the trailer and just go, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff happening in the background.
Yeah.
Whereas I could watch Walking Dead and see 4 of them and be like, whoa, that looks good. You know, it's
a swarm of
shame.
human
It's like I
beings.
was with Mama, where I was like, ooh, shadows. But then as soon as like she would emerge on screen, I was like, oh, okay. I'm not that scared.
It's when you hold on it. You hold on it, it takes away the effect.
So let's see what else we got here. James Gandolfini passed away today.
So sad.
I don't know if he did a horror film. I really liked him in True Romance, so that's enough reason to put him in here.
I wrote that on Facebook story. I said, like, I remember watching that movie, not having never noticed him in a movie, and thinking he was the best actor on screen, and going, this is a guy who is really able to expose himself, and as big as he is, he's like completely like tender. Like, you know, one of those, I don't know, I can't remember the last time I saw any actor who did that kind of work where you're like, oh, wow. You know?
He's amazing.
Yeah, ever see Money for Nothing with John Cusack? He's like John
I remember
Cusack's
seeing it. I don't
brother.
remember a minute.
He's his older brother in it. He's very warm, and it's a really good little movie.
I saw a film, it's not a horror film, and it's an American indie by the woman who made Walking and Talking, and Linda, I can't remember her last name. I saw it at a super advance where we're trying to help with, you know, the test screening, and it's really a bummer because it's like Gandolfini and Julie Louis-Dreyfus in a very warm, very emotional romantic comedy, and now it's like you think about that and you go, okay, so now you've got a film that's the last film of an actor where he's incredible and really like you wouldn't have a dry eye in the house probably. You know what I mean? It's so weird how that always changes things.
I was always a fan of his, and I don't even remember the name of it now, but it had Steve Buscemi in it. It was like Steve Buscemi directed it, and it was almost a musical. He sang. I want to
Trees Lounge.
I want to call it like 100 Cigarettes, but I know that's not it.
I mean, it
had Christopher Walken in it too, and they all sang, and he played the husband. I've got to look this one. No, I got to look this up now.
Yeah,
it was surprisingly, it was a really good movie.
Yeah, we don't have time. We're
but the last thing I've got tonight was that Rob Zombie announced this week that he is going to be doing a Halloween carnival. And it's going to be at the Pomona Fairgrounds here in Los Angeles, and it is running October 10th through November 2nd. And in addition to having numerous bands, including Rob Zombie, they're going to have 3 mazes, 15 nights of bands, a lucha libre night, several haunted houses, and all types of other stuff going on.
He's like sick of Universal getting all the money. Huh?
I think that's probably
or Eli Roth over in the Goratorium.
Oh, yeah. So, and aside from
Friday.
that,
What's happening Friday?
We're all going to see The Conjuring on Friday.
I'm very excited to be seeing.
I didn't get an RSVP.
You've already seen it?
No, she's sending out. I messaged her today because I was kind of getting impatient because I was like, look, if we're not invited to the press thing on Friday, then I have other things to do.
Yeah.
And she emailed back and she was like, I'm not sending out RSVP notifications till tomorrow. So I'm sure we all got them. So at least I know I got mine.
Yeah.
So,
I haven't been that excited about a new film for a while. Like I'm genuinely love the idea of the story, love what James has been doing, feel very excited about this film. This and You're Next. They're the two I've been jonesing to see.
Next is great.
You've seen it already?
Seen it. Love it.
I'm jonesing for that.
Love it.
Can't wait.
So Conjuring, we're doing that tomorrow night. There is a party followed by the screening.
Tomorrow night? Friday night.
Friday night. I'm sorry. Tomorrow night's trivia.
The night that you hear this is when we're...
Yes.
Yes.
We'll be watching it. And we'll talk about it next week, you know?
Yeah. Thanks so much to Scott Reynolds, our guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me by.
Yeah, it was really fun. And I can't wait to see more of it.
Yeah, you can find him on Twitter at jscottamy.
Yep.
On Twitter.
And listen to our Dexter Wrap-Up podcast.
Yeah, it's on iTunes and Showtime's website.
There's a good Jimmy Smith one on there.
Oh, really? Cool.
And the James Gandolfini musical that I was trying to think of is Romance and Cigarettes. You guys have to check it out. It's got Christopher Walken in it.
Oh, yeah,
and
I've heard of it.
James Gandolfini, and they sing pop songs.
John Turturro, I think, directed that.
Yes, that was it. Okay.
I
Not
remember
Steve
that
Buscemi,
now.
it's John Turturro.
Turturro.
Yeah.
I was just thinking Gandolfini would have been so good in Dexter.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, I guess he was in a rival, network, but man, he would have been in that world. Like, that would have been the guy.
Totally.
He would have been great.
So,
but
more
how many episodes have been out for the new season? Or out now?
June 30th.
June 30th
we start
it starts.
up with, So
there hasn't been
Hasn't
any?
started yet. No.
Nope. Season 8 starts on June 30th.
I thought I'd missed like 4 of the newest episodes.
No.
Oh, cool. So can I watch at your house?
Sure.
All right. Sweet. We solved something today. Sounds good.
Well, thank you everybody for listening, and we will be back next week with another awesome guest.
Yep.
Yep.
Thanks, Geek Nation.
Bye, everyone.